Hi. So recently I had a bit of a coming out, so to speak. And that was something that I have been trying to do for pretty much my whole life. Um, since I was 7 years old, I've suffered from mental illness. And I didn't know what it was when I was a kid, and I just thought that something was really wrong with me. And I grew up with a lot of shame and guilt, um, misunderstanding, not not being understood by people. I didn't even understand myself. Um, and about a year and a half ago, when I was living in Nelson, BC, I was given the opportunity to work with two really good therapists. One of them specifically worked um, in trauma, which is the root cause of my mental illness. Um, and she worked with me and taught me about meditation, about being being very aware of your body, understanding what happens in my body when I am experiencing flashbacks. And I'll talk a bit about that later. But she really, really helped calm me. And the second therapist that I worked with there was a therapist who specialized in a special type of therapy called EMDR. And EMDR is eye movement reprocessing and desensitization. And essentially it works on the premise that when you are in REM sleep, so rapid eye movement, uh, you you are able to process trauma better. So essentially, the therapy works on the the premise of that. So you go through guided visions, guided memories with the therapist, and they have you move your eyes back and forth as you're going through this. And I experienced a lot of really, really good results with this, because of my complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which is what I have, C-PTSD. um, I I have post-traumatic amnesia, so I don't remember anything before the age of 7. I have very little memory at all. Anything bad or hard in my life that happens, I block it out. So what EMDR does is it actually, without having you relive things, it gets under there and it helps you to access it and heal it in a safe environment, for your brain and and also for your heart. Um, so I really, really had a lot of luck with that. Um, if if I hadn't started that, I don't know if I'd be at the place where I am today. Um, the threat of losing my mom is what started me on that path. Unfortunately, I had to cut that path short because I came back to Calgary last July to be with my mom, who has since passed away. Um, I spent the last 10 days of her life in the hospice with her, living by her side 24/7. I chased the monsters away. She was kind of in between worlds, I think, the last few days of her life. And she was definitely seeing things, and talking to things that weren't there. Um, and she would get scared quite often, and so I came up with some pretty neat ways to chase away her monsters. Um, she she would think something was behind her chair that she was in, so I'd take my cell phone and I'd take a photo behind her chair and then show her, and that usually worked. So, but anyways, went through over the last year probably the craziest year of my life, despite having a fairly traumatic younger life. The last year has been not only a huge growing period, but it also taught me so much. Like, um, I don't I don't question things anymore. I don't even question why people died. I don't feel that it's my place, and when I started accepting things and accepting what was happening and accepting who I was and what those things meant to me, my whole my like whole world changed. Um, about where do I begin? Like, I just probably about 3 years ago, I had a friend give me a book called The Secret. Now, with my mental illness, with C-PTSD, and many other mental illnesses, anxiety and social anxiety are things that happen. Um, I experience anxiety related to what other people think. Um, and I think that's probably to do with feeling so ashamed about it. Um, and now that I'm coming forward and talking about it, I'm not feeling as anxious, which is funny because I'm doing exactly what I've been trying not to do for 20 years. Um, so it's really opened doors, and people have been really accepting and really understanding. And I've had a lot of people come. This is my cat. I've had a lot of people come forward and say that they admire my courage, and they understand how difficult saying something like this publicly is. And I'm really proud that I finally did it, and I know that my mom has been with me through this process. She's really really given me a lot of signs that she's here, um, and as have other people who passed away. Um, Mike Gruffner, um, I've had some signs from him. I've been visited by Amy Jane last fall, um, and seeing, I don't know, this is kind of wishy-washy, but um, repeating numbers, so 1111, 555, 222, 444, like I see them all the time, every day. Um, and I know that when I'm seeing those, it's a reminder, it's a a sign that they're watching, and they're here for me. And I'm really excited about that. So, um, you know, those who have passed, keep saying hi. I miss you, and I love you. Um, and yeah, so basically, I had this coming out a few days ago, and it's been really awesome. I've learned for the first time in my 27 years of life that I'm not alone. I don't have to go it alone. That none of us have to go it alone. That there is a collective group of souls in the universe who are filled with love, and they are just waiting to embrace people who are willing to become aware and awake and to live in truth. And I felt like I couldn't. What happened was, about 2 months ago, I thought, I'm going to start telling people. So I started telling people, closer friends, that really didn't even know about this. Like, they knew that something wasn't right, but I'd never really talked about it with most of even my close friends. So I started telling them, and it got easier to tell people. So I'd tell another person, and I'd tell another person. And for the last 2 months, I've been toying with the idea of not just writing in my blog, but coming out and coming forward, like coming forward publicly on Facebook, which is kind of ridiculous. But it is a social network. It's a network of people in my public circle. And at the end of the day, what I was trying to achieve with it was to not only grow as a person myself, but allow others to feel like it's okay, that you're okay, that if you need to talk, if you need to let it out, in my existence, it's okay. Um, and that you're loved, and we can do this together, and that no matter what, there will be people there who are willing to catch you. And so finally, a few days ago, I don't know, I just decided. I was sitting there, it was like 11 o'clock at night, and I've been really thinking about it this week. 1 year anniversary of my mom's death passed just, what, like 12 days ago. And I've been going through a really, really emotional time in my life, missing my mom, coming up on 2 more anniversaries on the 31st of August here that are very meaningful to my life. And I didn't want to hide anymore. I, I didn't want to not talk about this. So I typed out what I had been rewriting in my head about 200 times. And I took a deep breath and I hit post. And it's been all positive, no negative, I mean, unless people aren't saying it. There's been no negative feedback. People have been really, really awesome. You guys are all. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about what it is that I have. So, excuse me. The best way that I can explain it is that complex post-traumatic stress disorder is it's different than post-traumatic stress disorder. It's not what you hear about soldiers who have been to war experience. It's not like that. I experienced flashbacks, but I experience flashbacks that are emotional in nature. So I don't think that something's happening that's not. I don't see things. um, what happens is when I come across a situation that reminds me in some way of something that happened when I was very young, I experience emotions related to that. Um, for example, when I was a young child, um, my dad left my mom, and in a very, very not so nice way. And I was only 3 years old. 4, very young. Um, and I've actually just been connecting the dots over the last year. I got my baby book from my mom, and in it, they had to write who is her favorite person. And under it, it says dad. Now, I don't know that about myself, and I don't remember that about myself, but it makes a lot of sense to me now how I react to my dad and to that situation, um, that I felt abandoned, and I was very, very, very angry as a child because of it. And I was angry at my mom because she was there. So I, yeah. So, anyways, last year I was working at a festival in BC, and I was running the general store. And this festival got very, very rained out. There were huge rivets of mud. People were getting stuck everywhere. And there were people that were stranded the day the festival was ended. They didn't have food and they didn't have water. And I was really worried that nobody was gonna make sure that they were okay. So I packed up everything I had left in my store, like water and Powerade and granola bars and whatever. And I started walking around the festival site and giving it to people. And that day was super emotional for me because I felt like people were being kind of abandoned, and it triggered a fairly major flashback, one of the more major flashbacks I've had in recent years. I pretty much had like a meltdown. So I was literally like heaving and sobbing and crying and crying and crying that these people were not going to be okay, and they need water and they need food, and they were going to be okay. um, but the fear of that triggered something in me, and that's kind of the best example of a flashback that I can explain to you. Um, basically, sorry, getting comfy. So basically, a flashback means that I experience emotions that don't make sense for the situation at all. Um, as in something that shouldn't make me angry, or I over experience uh, emotions. And another part of C-PTSD is the inability to regulate your emotions. So I have a hard time. Um, I have a hard time stopping it when it starts. It's kind of basically, if it's happening, it's happening, um, and it's very hard to stop. So those are a couple things. I experience some anxiety. Um, I tend to. This is probably pretty surprising for people that know me as a dancer and see me on stage, but it's it's something I've learned to do. I wasn't always outgoing. I was painfully shy as a kid. Um, I didn't like public speaking. I wouldn't be doing this. Um, and so I basically like I I worry I should say I worried because I'm not so much like that anymore, and coming out and talking about what goes on with me has made a huge difference. So um, I'm really excited about that. Um, I still experience it. Um, I tend to overanalyze things, and I tend to overanalyze what people are saying to me, and I take it personally. I tend to think that people don't like me when that's not necessarily even true. Um, and that happened recently when I kind of exposed my truth to this one girl. I had this feeling that she just didn't like me, and she was like, no, and she shared her own story with me, and she was like, no, like that's not true at all. So my perception of what actually isn't always right. And certainly there's been a lot of situations in my life where I have been shunned because of my actions due to my mental illness. That, sure, that might be true, but a lot of times it's not. And going back to what my post originally said when I started talking about this the other day, um, I really, in the last couple of years, I've really, really tried to be an understanding person, to listen better, to be more accepting and less judgmental, um, because I've been put under judgment a lot, and probably unfairly so because people don't really know what is going on with me. Um, so, yeah, that wasn't fair. But at the end of the day, you don't know what somebody is going through. You haven't walked in their shoes. You haven't been in every single moment of their life. You haven't been through every environment and every situation. So, why do you think it's okay for you to judge? Why can't we just accept each other? Why is this world so backwards with so many people? Why are we not able to come together as a collective whole? Why? Like I have a hard time understanding, and I really, that's probably because I don't see things like that anymore. But there was a time where I was a very, very angry, hurt person with a chip on my shoulder, an I don't care attitude, and I was pretty terrible to people. And I don't want to be like that anymore. I have my moments. Again, I have a hard time regulating emotions. Sometimes that's anger, sometimes it's misdirected. But understanding goes a long way. Um, and understanding that it's something that I am working towards trying to change. I don't know if it's, I don't know if this is something that I will ever be free of completely, but it's something that I want so much to be to be better, to live a thriving, whole, happy life, to be somebody that others can admire, to be someone that they're not trying to get away from because I'm doing crazy things and I'm being a bitch, and I don't want those things for myself anymore, and I'm going to do everything in my power to move past that. Um, Before my mom passed away, make me cry. Um, Before my mom passed away, I asked her, was I always like this? And she told me no. What happens because of my mental illness is not how I was born. It's not my true self. It's not who I was meant to be. It's not what the universe intended for me. God, Allah, Buddha, whatever you want to call it. It's not my intended path. But it does teach me. So the journey continues, and I'm really, really excited about it. Yeah, it's exciting. So this is a really long video. If you get this far, thank you. um, and yeah, until next time.